Hey, good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. And today, I have another FAQ video. This is number 10 of 2019. I hope you have been enjoying these. And we talk about all things guitar, music-related gear, equipment. And if you have questions, you could either leave a question in the YouTube box below, or of course, if you feel more comfortable, you can always email me questions and email them to me at thenextlevelguitar@yahoo.com, and be sure to put question for David in the subject line. And before we get rocking and rolling, if you could do me a favor and please subscribe to the channel, that really helps us to keep bringing the content, right? Leave a comment or a question below. And if you like the video, please click the like button, give it a thumbs up, share it, and we so appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And I've been getting some questions about my new original band. It's called Mind Cell. We're dropping our debut record this summer. It's going to be released, and we are right at the end of the mixing stage, and we are pretty much just in the mastering stage now, so there's not much more to go. All the recording has been done, and we're just doing some final tweaks on the mixes, and then it's going to mastering. So hopefully really soon I'm gonna have that record out, and I'm so stoked for you guys and gals to hear it. In fact, we released the first single. I'll put a link to the video for that song below in the YouTube description box. And also, you can ask me questions if you want to learn more about like studio recording or the recording experience or mixing or mastering or whatnot. Certainly, I'm up for answering questions about anything. So the other thing you may be interested in is I did a little behind the scenes video while I was in the studio with the band recording. We were just having some fun in the studio, and I was pointing out some things and whatnot. And I'll put a link to that video below. It's fun. You might enjoy watching it. The record's going to be called Absolute. I'll let everyone know when it drops, and I hope you'll pick up a copy. I'm really excited about it. I think it's some of the best music I've ever written. First one is a question from Kim Rush, who asks, David, how do guitar players remember their pedal settings to make sure they get the same sounds or same settings that they like? And there are a few things that you could do to kind of, save your pedal settings and know where they're at. Of course, you can always write them down, right? That's one thing you could do, but that's not the most practical, because then you have to have this sheet of paper with your settings all around. I found a couple of products that really help with this, and the first is this fluorescent green ink pen. It's called Setting Saver. I'll flash some pictures of it, and it's made by a company called Stage Tricks. And this basically is green fluorescent ink, so it kind of stands out on a dark stage, and you could just make little marks right on top of your pedals. It's basically could be used for anything that has knobs or dials or sliders, so this is good for amps, pedals, it's good for consoles, mixing boards, whatever. And it cleans up easy, it just wipes right off. The only thing is, on the pedals, some pedals don't have a clear finish on them. When you put this ink on the pedals with the clear finish, it wipes right off with your finger. But if it doesn't have that clear finish, it could, be permanent on the pedal. So what you want to do is try it on an inconspicuous part of the pedal first, and just to make sure that it doesn't leave anything permanent. The Setting Saver I picked up, I think it was about like $5.99, something like that. Another easy way to mark your pedals and settings is to pick up some of these color-coded labels, and I have the small circles, and I'll flash a close-up of this. And they make these in different colors. This pack I have from Avery, it's green, yellow, blue, red. They're adhesive. You just stick them on there, and you can kind of mark on them where the pedal or where the slider or wherever you want to save that setting is. 1/4 inch round, 768 labels on 4 sheets, so it's like a lot. Maybe even a lifetime supply, about $8. So it's another great way to mark your pedals. Next question is from Dennis. Do you have a course addressing overcoming stage fright? This is my biggest issue right now. I can't even play for my wife in the same room. I can go in the garage by myself, and she says I sound good, but freeze up anytime anybody else is around. What the heck can I do? I know at some point you pros have had this issue, and how did you overcome it? Dennis, you're right. Most musicians and performers do experience some degree of anxiety, of stage fright, and it can go from, the nervousness to all out being very crippling. And it's such a great question that so many people have to deal with. And in fact, musicians and performers at the highest level have battled with this. I did a video, I dedicated a whole video to this topic with my 5 best tips to crush stage fright. So I wanted to address it in a whole video because it's a really important topic and there's a lot of information I provide. So I'm going to put a link to that video in the YouTube description box below. Know, Dennis, that you are not alone, and this nervousness, stage fright is something that affects most people at some point in their musical journey. All right, so give that video a watch below and let us know how it works out for you. Next question is from Glinner from across the pond in Somerset, UK. Greetings from the USA, Glinner. He asks, hi David, thanks for the info on loopers. I think I'm going to use the Jamman Solo XT. Seems to do all I need. Can you confirm I can load it with the 16 jam track package that I purchased from you? And also maybe demo this product and show us how it's done. Most appreciated. I had sent him some information on looper pedals and I'm going to do a video on that and demonstration, so be sure and watch that. The one question of his I wanted to address, because I know a lot of people are wondering this, is when you buy jam tracks from me or anyone else for that matter, can you download them into the device, into your looper pedal, no matter what it is? Because most modern looper pedals, you know, they do have USB. You can you know, take jam tracks and load them up into them. So the answer to that question is yes. Most of the jam tracks that I sell are either in WAV format. I also do sell AIF files. Most looper pedals will take WAV files, but if you have AIF files or if you even have to convert to WAV, that's very easy. And in fact, if you have iTunes, you could just do it in your iTunes. You can convert it. They have a converter. It's very easy to do. Or there's a lot of online converters that for free that will convert AIF to WAV or MP3 to WAV files. Next question is from Andrea in the Philippines. Greetings from the USA, Andrea. Thanks for your question. Even with lots of practice changing chords, it always throws me off beat. Any suggestions? I have a couple of suggestions for you. It's hard to answer that question exactly without getting some more information. The crux of the matter is, if you're having trouble being thrown off beat by whatever, you want to find out why that is. Is it because you're stumbling over the chord changes? Is it because you're stumbling over the strum pattern? Or is it because your rhythm and meter are not on point and it's throwing you off, right? So you have to identify exactly with laser focus what the problem is and then get some exercises or some video lessons on how to work on and correct that problem. Many students have issues stumbling over chord changes, and that's what's keeping them from getting to the next chord in time as they're strumming in rhythm, right? So an answer, if that's the case, what you need is, first of all, you want to check that your chord changing skills, you're using the proper techniques, they're the most efficient, right? And you really have your changing dialed in with lots of exercises, and I can help with that. I'll put a free video lesson below in that YouTube description box. Just click on the link, it'll take you right to the lesson with my 6 essential chord changing tips, and you could check your technique to make sure your technique is really on point, and then there's lots of exercises in that lesson. If your problem is with strumming and rhythm, I'll also put a lesson in the description box below to get your strumming on point, give you some great tips on strumming and rhythm, plenty of exercises with that. If your issue is more of a straight timing thing, then I suggest working with a metronome. A metronome is just an essential tool for the practicing guitarist. And there's tons of exercises that you can use that'll really help you. And it's so important to have that, you know, steady beat going, and you're trying to, you know, play in time with that and hit your changes, right? I have a lot of exercises on my website, nextlevelguitar.com. I'll put a link to the website in the description box below. You can go there. I'll also point you toward those exercises with the metronome. Now, the website is a subscription site, but you could take the 3-day free trial. We don't ask for a credit card or anything. On the homepage, it says start your free trial. Click on that. We send you a username and password, and then go to the metronome exercises. Add those to your practice routine. Do those regularly, and they will get you on point. Now, if I didn't address the issue in one of those, email me, and we'll have further dialogue about it and see if we can zero it in. Next question is from David P., who asks, hi David, if you were to relearn guitar playing knowing what you know now, what would be the top 3 or 5 things you would focus on? What 3 or 5 things acted as cusps that once mastered really accelerated your playing? What 3 or 5 things would you practice every day in addition to song, licks, notes, scales, the fretboard that would provide the greatest generalizable skills? Thanks, Dave. So I'll list out a bunch of things. These aren't in necessarily any order, but the first thing obviously is you have to have a structured plan, right? You want to have a structured plan, and I talk about this a lot, with obtainable goals that will get you to the next level of your playing. plan that will attack your areas of weakness on the guitar, no matter what they may be, exercises to overcome that, and ways to apply it on the guitar. If I had to relearn the guitar, some of the things that I think make a big difference is starting early doing those finger exercises that I talk about, finger and dexterity exercises, because early on, especially on guitar, so much of it is getting over the physics of the instrument, right? And getting to bend your fingers into those chord shapes and then being able to strum with rhythm while you're changing chords. And you really need that fret hand dexterity. And those finger exercises are great because not only are they great strength and dexterity builders, but they also tie the right and left hands together. They help your picking. They do so much, and they help your speed and your overall dexterity on the instrument. So doing those regularly, 5 minutes a day, 5 to 7 minutes is all you need. Those are really critical to add. Everyone can benefit from those, and it's something that I talk a lot about as part of anyone's practice regimen. I have tons of finger exercises on my website. If you watch my videos, you've seen me, teach tons of them. They're not the most fun thing, and they can get a little bit monotonous, but they have such value. Just doing them every day really dials in this technique and strength. So that's one of the things. Another thing, learning the notes on the neck. I think really important. I wish I would have accomplished that earlier. I know a lot of people, there's like a lot of mixed feelings about that. Well, do you really need to know all that? I think it's important, and I think it'll really help you along your guitar journey to see the notes on the neck and to know which notes make up which chords, and being able to land on certain notes over certain chords really makes strong solo statements, as opposed to, eventually your ear will guide you and take you those, but that takes a while. And that leads me to another thing, developing your ear. I relied on tablature too early on in my guitar journey for a while, until I really started working my ear with ear training and ear exercises, right? I should have started that earlier and really worked my ear. Now my ear is I have pretty good relative pitch, but it was a long and hard journey, and it could have been a lot easier, I think, if I started that earlier. So developing the ear is something, I think it's one of the most important things that'll make you such a better overall musician, guitar player in so many ways. Another thing that I think has incredible value when you get up to this point, more intermediate to advanced guitar, is learning, your pentatonics and learning scales across the neck as well as just vertically, right? You want to practice them horizontally and ways to connect them. And obviously, the pentatonic scale is the most widely used scales across most genres of music. So you start with pentatonics, minor and major, connecting those, learning the 5 shapes, learning the expanded shapes, how to connect those. But a lot of players stop there. And I think that there's a lot of value in going to the next step, which would be learning the modes of the major scale. And those modes being, like Aeolian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. You probably heard all those Greek names, right? Natural minor scale, natural minor scale, which is also the Aeolian mode. Those 7-note scales, as opposed to the 5-note pentatonic scales. Learning those diatonic 7-note scales has a lot of value. And for me, I found when not just I learned the modes, but I learned how to use and apply them, because each of them creates a different mood. It's all about the sounds. It really opened up the guitar neck for me in ways that were really just vaulted my playing to a whole new level, right? And I'm not saying that you can't get to these incredible high levels with just pentatonics, because you can, and a lot of people make a career on the pentatonics, and that's fine. I'm saying with learning the modes, it just gives you something different, something in addition to, right? For me, that was huge, and I think starting early and learning those and applying them, once you get, the basics down, has tremendous, tremendous value, almost invaluable, because it just opens up all these different moods and textures and sounds that you can create on the guitar. It's just so fascinating. And one other thing I think that's hugely important is where you're getting your information from, right? You want to really find a qualified teacher, whether it be a private teacher or an online curriculum, whether it's my curriculum or whether it's someone else's curriculum, but you really want to find a teacher that you can relate to, that you have chemistry with, right? Because there's a lot of mediocrity in the teaching world. Just because someone's a great guitar player doesn't necessarily mean they're a great teacher. And that's why so many of us who went for private lessons, we might have had to go through 3, 4, 5 I know I did when I was learning. I went through 3, 4, 5 teachers before I found kind of my guitar teacher sensei, right? It took me a while to find someone who was really serious about teaching and who I really felt I had this chemistry with. Because that's whose philosophy you're getting. So having that guitar mentor, whether it's private or whether it be an online curriculum, you really want to find that magic for you, that has that structured curriculum where you're going to get that. And finding someone who is really qualified, and that you really relate to, can be a difficult task. I'll put a lesson below in the YouTube description box on questions to ask to finding a qualified private instructor if you want to go private lessons. I'll watch that video. They'll really help you and save you a lot of time in trying to find the right person. But I think finding that person early in your journey that's really, mentoring you and steering you in the right direction, I think is huge. I received a few questions dealing with a similar topic, so I'm going to bundle 3 questions together. Bear with me through these questions, and then I'm going to knock out the answers all at once, right? Jim C. was one who asked me about, hey David, how do you develop a great go-to library of fantastic blues rock guitar licks? Not only to get to know to play these fluidly, but utilize them and anticipate the chord changes on the fly. And then I got another question from Raymond, who says, hi folks, how do you remember all the licks? Do you have a system? Is there such thing as a lick bank? Cheers, Bluesy Ray. And also Michael G says, hey David, I was an excellent student in school. Most think I have a great memory. However, I find my ability to memorize songs and changes slow, easy to forget. So Mike, Ray, and Jim kind of have a similar question as far as, how do you remember all these licks and just pull them out? And, do you have a lick bank, or how do you remember chord changes and I seem to forget them, right? So there's a few things you could do, and I have some general things and then I have some very specific things regarding this topic. The first thing is, obviously, you have to play these things a lot, right? You have to really drill down on them. Once you find a lick you like, for say, if we're using the idea of learning a lick, quote unquote, you want to write the lick down and you have to practice that lick. If it's chords and chord changes a song, again, you got to practice it over and over again and keep playing it. So even, when you get together with friends to jam, play it. When you get together, for dinner, have an after dinner session at your house, whatever, and bring the acoustics and have a little campfire jam where you're playing those songs. Just those constant repetition will really drill it into your head. But there's something else that you need to do too, and that's to take it steps and steps further. Here's what I mean. The first thing is, just don't learn licks. That's where I think a lot of people miss the turn. They just learn a lick and then they maybe learn 4 or 5 licks. So what good is that? You want to learn from the lick, okay? So learning from the lick incorporates, yes, I learn the actual notes, I learn the lick, but I also am going to learn what scale is that lick pulled from? How is that lick built, right? How can I take that lick and maybe add different tag endings to it, right? Turning one lick into 5 licks, into 10 licks. How can I take that lick and play it a little differently? Maybe add a hammer-on or a pull-off or a bend, right? Where I'm taking that lick and I am turning it into 10 licks. And then you take it a step further. Then you practice that lick in a musical context. You could, for instance, over jam tracks. So you want to play the lick, right, learning it, but you have to take it and make it musical. You have to take it, use it. Application is so important. So you practice it over a jam track where you're playing the lick and all the variations, right, over the track, whatever key it's in, and you're feeling it, you're in there in time, playing with the groove. But then take it even further than that. Practice that same lick, set of licks with different jam tracks in different keys, different tempos. So now you're taking that lick and you're moving it around on the fretboard. You're practicing it in different keys. You're practicing it over different tempos. Maybe you're playing it more slower and bluesier, or maybe you're playing it with more distortion, more attitude, right? Making it more like a rock lick. You keep moving it a step into these different applications, and that's drilling it into your head, but in a musical way, in a musical context. And if you do all these things in time, you'll find that these licks, you'll just get them under your fingers. So it's almost like you're doing a study session on these bags of licks where you're learning from the lick and you're practicing it over jam tracks, and you're taking it and you're varying it, and you're taking it and you're practicing over different jam tracks, and you're taking it into different keys in different tempos, and it's drilling it into your head as you go. Let's take an example on the guitar. Taking a lick and turning it into many licks and reworking it and drilling it into your head. All right, I'm in the key of D minor. So here's the bass lick. right? And this is basically coming from this D natural minor scale. First thing, easy thing you could do is use slides to slide in and out of the lick. Okay, so I slid into the note on that 6th fret. And then I used a slide instead of playing 5 to 7 on the G string. I slid 5 to 7. So I'm doing these little variants on the lick, all based off. Other thing you can do is use a pull off. Instead of playing the note, I pull off 6 to 5 on the B string. And then I used a hammer on and doubled up on the note, up on that D note on the 7th fret on the G string. So I'm doing hammer-ons 5 to 7. Right? Another thing you could do, slide out to some other notes. Here I'm sliding the 7, sliding back to 5. Another thing I could do is I could work those half-step bends. Right? All based off, but all different. And it's working my brain, showing me all these licks, and I might not remember every single one of them, but I remember quite a few of them, especially once I start doing them over jam tracks. You can incorporate pull-offs with bends. Change the notes up. Start using artificial harmonics to accent notes. But I'm creating dynamics, I'm creating textures, I'm creating different sounds, all based off of that one bass lick. Just other ways to learn from that lick and how to apply all these devices and techniques to make it musical. Because it's not just about the notes of the lick, it's taking those notes and doing things with them that sound musical. The bends, the vibrato, the slides, the legato, the hammer-ons, the pull-offs, artificial harmonics, whatever, taking those, making those differences in sounds, making it musical and melodic. Next question is from Manny, and Manny asks, in the major or minor pentatonic scale, what fret would I use if a song is in E minor instead of saying the key of A or the key of C? Generally, you know, where you're starting your solo and your note choice depends on a lot of different things, like, you know, the sounds you want to create and where on the guitar you want to be, like if you have to be in a certain area because you're playing certain chords and get back to that. But if I understand your question correctly, is you're asking about a fret relation to a certain key. And generally, I don't look at the guitar that way. And I think that a better way of looking at the guitar is looking at it as one big opportunity, one big collection of notes and intervals. I tend to look at the guitar and teach guitar that way, as opposed to, you know, positional playing and just focusing on, you know, 12th fret when you're in the key of E. Because a lot of students, let's say if you're using this E minor pentatonic scale, and immediately when you say, okay, you're going to do a solo, a lot of students will just gravitate right toward that 12th fret. And play that Bach shape, right? That most common shape that we all know and love, minor pentatonic, and they'll say, okay, you start at the 12th fret. Well, that's not E minor pentatonic per se. What E minor pentatonic is, pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale consisting of the root, the flat third, the fourth, the fifth, and the flat seventh, right? In the key of E, or E minor pentatonic, those notes are E, A, E, D. You could start that wherever you want, and that's the crux of, you know, learning those 5 box positions that take you across the entire neck, or those 2 expanded scales that I teach, right, that take you and give you most of the neck, right? You don't necessarily have to say, well, 12th position. I mean, you could do stuff in open position. it's the notes that are important, e.g. A, B, D. If that's what you're going to stay within the confounds of in minor pentatonic, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to start at the 12th fret. You could start wherever those notes are in any part of the neck, and you don't want to limit yourself to just thinking in terms of this box goes with this key. I think there's a better way to do it, and again, that's more notes and intervals in the way that I teach. So I kind of teach guitar in a way in which key really doesn't matter. You know, you're learning the notes and the intervals, and you're learning, you know, how that applies on guitar. And then for key changes, you're just taking that whole opportunity or groups, and you're just shifting it down if the key is lower, shifting it up if the key is higher. So the key really doesn't matter. What matters is, you know, the mood or the sounds you want to create, and the intervals and the notes, and, you know, the relationship between the scale and chords. You know, that's so important, studying the relationship between scales and chords, and what sounds you like best, what scales over what chords, right? So I would say a good exercise for you, Manny, is to start to look at like those expanded scales that I teach. I'll put a lesson in the YouTube description box below where I teach, you know, connecting together across the fretboard, and start seeing these connections across rather than just up and down in one box relating to one fret, because that's kind of limiting. The guitar is awesome because it's this repeated series of notes and intervals, and not all instruments are like this, and you have so many different choices. It's so awesome that you have all these choices on the instrument. Why limit yourself and say, well, I'm playing an E, I'm just going to play at the 12th fret, or E minor, or E major pentatonic, or whatever, right? You want to have everything available to you, and having those choices is great. You might not use all the choices, but having them, you have an opportunity. All right, it's time to pick another random winner for some Next Level Guitar swag. We take all the questions that we receive in each of these FAQ videos, and then what we do is we just choose a random winner, and I'm going to email them, and they're going to get their choice, a Next Level Guitar t-shirt or a Next Level Guitar course or site membership. And for this video, the winner is, let's see, Manny. Manny is the winner. He asked the question about what fret would you use if a song is in E minor. Manny, watch your email inbox and I will be emailing you. Remember, please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us to keep bringing the content. Leave a comment below. If you like the video, click the like button, give it a thumbs up. And if you want a free reference book you'll use throughout your guitar journey, I'll send you my rock blues soloing ebook. It's packed with scale diagrams, soloing strategies, major minor key lessons. It's a killer resource. I'll send you that and a free video lesson on how to spice up your soloing real quick and easy with some simple devices and techniques. Click on the link below. Send that to you for free from Next Level Guitar. Be sure to check out some of the links below for my band Mind Cell. We're dropping our debut original record this summer. It's going to be killer. Keep up all that hard work on that guitar. And remember, your guitar journey is an evolution. Take care, and I'll see you in the next lesson.